Looks like we are good to go. Looks like I see us on Restream. We just got a follow right now from Night Possum. Thank you so much for the follow, man. Thank you. Welcome. Yeah, we're good to go. And I am joined with our pre-show here at the 1v1 with my boy Sonny Ravencourt from the Loreforge podcast. How are you doing, dude?
Man, you do not waste any time. When you say let's go live, we just go live.
We just go live, dude. We're not doing any. Hey, I think rather than watching a countdown of 10 minutes, why don't we just talk for 10 minutes, let people get in here, and let's just catch up on shit. You know what I mean?
Oh, like, absolutely. You know, we do the countdown. Oh my God. Yeah. We do like a 15-minute count. We've got AI songs. It's like a whole thing, you know, and the chat is talking and we're in this other little corner. It's like, it's a big production. And then we go live and I'm like, you know, that was 15 minutes of my life that like probably could have had back.
No, for sure. And I can imagine all the conversations you have in that 15 minutes too, with like Jibs and Cash and shit. I can imagine like you should record that and have it just be these little like, because I'm sure y'all powwow before. You know.
Yeah. And this was one of like my original rules in podcasting. Like, so when I first started out in podcasting in like 2011, maybe, I did it with a friend of mine.
Yeah.
I managed to convince my best friend to do this with me. And he didn't know anything about Star Wars: The Old Republic. And I'm like, we're going to do the show. And inevitably, before the show would start, we would start to talk about different things. And I'd be like, stop, save it for the show. And so it was just this constant stop, save it for the show. Because he'd have things that he wanted to say and I'd have things that I wanted to say. And those initial honest reactions to stuff are, you just can't. You can't make that up.
You can't replicate
right?
that. Yeah. And I think there's a lot of that goes on between you guys. There's such an authentic friendship. It's really nice to see unfold. And of course, like, it's always cool to see behind the scenes stuff. You know what I mean? So, but speaking of behind the scenes, I'm not going to spoil anything, but my boy Sonny shared with me a video that's going to go up tomorrow, right?
Tomorrow. Yes.
And I watched the whole thing. I heard every bitty bit of it. And man, it is so good, dude. Y'all outdid yourselves 100%. It is so cool because again, it's kind of like when Burns did Bespoke. You know, we all have our podcasts and it's kind of like similar. Some stuff is different, but then Bespoke comes out and it's like a take on a podcast that's basically edited into like a show form, you know, so you're watching it like as a 20-minute TV show in a sense. And it's so entertaining. And then here you guys come with a completely unique idea. And again, I'm not going to spoil anything, but
we can talk about it.
You want to talk about it?
Yeah,
dude. Okay. Let's talk about The River.
First of all, I want to say that Bespoke was like underrated. Dude. Bespoke was really good because it lets you see a lot of the different podcasters side by side. You know, like when you go out and you see these different podcasters, you watch their show and you're in it and you start to listen to them. You're like, do I like this guy? Do I not like this guy, guy or girl or whatever? And it's and you're just in it for so long. And sometimes you don't even bother looking anywhere else because you're like, I like Vladis. Vladis is my guy. I'm going to stick with Vladis. Right. So you don't see anything else.
Right.
And there's new people coming into this space all the time. And they just kind of go under the radar because, like, you know, it is hard to establish a base of people that are going to listen to you. And it gets harder and harder as people become more established because you get better, right? Like Vladis gets better and has more, you know, hopefully, and has more following and is able to generate maybe some money to put into the show, and the show gets better and all that other stuff. And so incrementally it gets harder and harder and harder to build up a base on that kind of stuff. And so with Bespoke, Burns was able to put everyone side by side and say, like, look at all of these creators and look at their different takes and look at these personalities and like just be exposed to all of that stuff, which was super great. Just total hats off to that.
Yeah, Burns did something really unique with it. And honestly, again, what y'all are doing. So guys, you know what we're talking about. So Sonny and the boys did an actual radio show for Ashes of Creation called The River. Yeah. And Sonny is your boy. He's your guide throughout the entire radio show. And they put together some of the best AI songs In Vera. Holy dude, the death metal song, I listened to that over. It was like if you watch it, it's on like 11 minutes in the show, because it's a 47-minute video, and damn, it is good. Holy shit. I was just there's no way. Like I might as well just like fade out into the distance and let y'all just take over, because holy shit, dude. Like,
so let me tell you where this came from. It was
so good.
And what happened. So I don't know whose idea this was, but it sort of generated out of the whole AI music thing. People would start to send us AI music songs, and we started to use them in the pre-show. And JB, got into it, and he started making songs and things like that. And and he said, we need to make, like, what if we did like a radio show or something like this? And for me, this was a moment, because I started out in college radio in '97. I was in a dorm. I lived in a dorm, and I went to another dorm in like this little house in the middle of the night, and I worked 4 to 7 a.m. on this college radio station. And I had a real radio show.
So wait, you were a radio jockey? Because I was gonna say, like, your voice, dude, was so good. Like, okay, keep going. So in '97, I'm doing 4 to 7 a.m. and I'm talking with other DJs, and I'm 18, right? Like, and I have no idea about the world or anything like that. I'm 2 years out of moving from Canada, right? So I'm in Iowa. So I'm like a foreigner. I'm just brand new. And I talked to this one DJ. I was like, how do you get people to listen to you at 4 to 7 a.m.? And he goes, oh, the 420 hit. And I'm like, what? He's like, oh yeah, play a song about weed at 420. Oh my God.
Really? And he's like, guaranteed. So I started doing it. I would play like hits from the bong from Cypress Hill and stuff.
Oh my God.
And the board would light up, and it was so much fun. And I'm like, I'm hooked for life. So awesome. I went to college to be on television. I wanted to be a television anchor person in television news. Wow. And so everything that I did was designed for that.
To lead up into that.
To lead up into that. So I met my wife in a photography class, like in the darkroom and everything, when we were still shooting with film. I did TV stuff. I ended up working for a TV station, and I loved radio. Audio was an initial love for me. And so I got my first professional job when I was in college. I was a junior in college, and I was a classic rock radio DJ at 100.7 The Fox. Shit. When JB came up with this idea, I'm like, I can make this happen. I can make this happen. And so a couple people sent me some of the AI songs. I wrote most of the AI songs with various AI programs online.
Right.
And I used sounders, and I built that whole thing. And I can tell you this, it is indistinguishable from radio in 2001. If you were to take that YouTube video that's coming out tomorrow, and you were to put it side by side with an hour from 2001 classic rock radio, you would not be able to tell the difference. It is exactly that. And so that DJ voice, that is me circa 99 through 2001, making $6 an hour, working midnight to 6 a.m. on Friday nights. I went by James Hamilton, your Friday night radio friend. And that was it. And the microphone you're using right now, what microphone is that?
The Shure SM7B.
It's a Shure SM7B. This was the microphone that I used in the studio in Iowa City at 100.7. And when I was able to get this microphone at the point, like in my life, where I was building the thing and I had the money to get this microphone, this is the end all microphone for me. I will never go away from this, because it is just like so close to my heart. It is it. And so like it has that proximity effect where you're like 100.7 The Fox, James Hamilton, your Friday night radio friend. That was Tom Petty coming in at the top of the hour. Bottom, we got weather. And here we go with a little Led Zeppelin. Let's get the lead out on the Fox. And it's just all of it, right? Like,
that's so good. And
all of the stuff.
It comes through so well. Like, again, dude, like, it was such a pleasure to listen to, and it was just so creative and inventive. And it was just something, and not to mention, I was playing Ashes of Creation, like while this was going on. So this was like perfect. It was like, I literally just lowered the entire music in Ashes and just listened to this. And it felt like, this is really awesome. And some of the comedy bits, like I'm going to give you some little bit of criticism.
Okay.
Some of the comedy bits were perfect. some lingered too long. It's like, okay, we get the shtick, you know. It's like
that was probably my Mortuary and Sons one might have been a hair too long.
Actually, that one was okay. It was. I think it was Jibs. Jibs. The weather one was a little like, again, no offense to Jibs. No offense to Jibs. It was just, for me, I was like, okay, I get the shtick. It's like, let's keep going, you know. But honestly, the music, like, I think that was, because honestly, all of the jokes, all of the, like, what Cash did, what Jibs did, the spirit of it, everything was just, it was so just well crafted. Everything was well crafted. And the music, dude, I'm telling you, guys, the music is like the star of the show. I mean, that's the whole reason why y'all, I think, did this. And I think all of the other bits were just you guys having fun. And I think that's what made this whole idea just come alive, like, so well. Like, man, I can't wait for, like, the boys at Intrepid to listen to this shit, because I'm telling you, it's going to be huge.
Yeah. So we sent a demo over to Planendorf, and he's like, what is this?
It's so good. It's so good. Like, I don't know, man. Like, I hats off to you guys, because holy shit, I think people are going to be stoked when they finally get to hear it tomorrow. Because tomorrow people go live tomorrow. But yeah, I guess, like, dude, that was a good little pre-show, man. Because we didn't really talk about Ashes. We talked about the new episode coming out tomorrow for you guys from The River. And so, like, you ready to start the actual episode and talk Ashes of Creation?
Let's do it.
Okay.
I'm so stoked that you did like the thing, because it was like, there are certain things that we do. Cash does those cooking things, and you never really know what's going to hit and what's not going to hit as far as, like, what people are going to like. And they're all labors of love. We all do this for labors of love, right? Like, your audience, my audience, all of this stuff. We are doing it because we love doing it. And so when someone says, like, what you did, I love it, that is like, that's it, dude, man.
It was, I can't wait for the next one. Like, I'm just now thinking of like what other, like, songs.
JB's already on it. It took JB 37 seconds to be like, this is amazing. I'm starting the next one. Dude. And so it'll be a blast. And
I can't wait. I mean, again, just little criticism. I think some of the jokes were really good. And I think JB's whole shtick on the weather was great. It was a little too long. I was like, all right, let's, because I was itching to hear the next song. Like, you know, that's, each song was, like, very creative. And I was like, holy shit. And it's amazing what AI is doing now. It's freaking astonishing. So and this is the shittiest it's gonna be, which is even crazier to think about, right? Like, it's only gonna get better from here. Like,
well, that was a real question for me in my mind, because, like, any radio station you work for would not have that diversity of songs. Like,
no,
and there's a concept in radio called whiplash, where, like, if I would have put like one of the slower songs right next to that metal song, people would be like, Jesus, you know, like, like they wouldn't have handled that. And so to navigate 10 completely different genres almost, and put them like that, but, like, picking the order of the songs was a lot of fun. It was like making a mixtape, honestly. Because I started it off with, like, a good banger, and then I went into that anthem song about Winstead, like, to bring it up a notch, and it was like the movie High Fidelity. It was just I had so much fun, and it was an absolute time machine for me. It was totally taking me back to the early 2000s, late 90s radio. So
I know. So I can't wait, radio DJ. It's gonna be a banger, guys. Like, watch out for tomorrow. All right,
you're gonna love it.
So we're back from the ads. People are here. We're ready to go. Let's start the official 1v1 episode. All right,
let's do it.
Going in 3, 2, 1. Hey guys, welcome back to the 1v1 podcast. I'm your host, Vladis, and today I have with me a very special returning guest. He is one of the 3 amigos from the Lore Forge podcast. He is our boy, Sonny Ravencourt. What is going on, dude?
Hello. Now, how many shows do I have to get before I get one of those, like, sweet coats like they get on Saturday Night Live for the 5-timers club?
Right,
you know?
Maybe I should.
A Vladis coat.
Honestly, like, what I was really thinking of doing, because I actually took down my merch store, so you can't buy anything anymore. You can't buy these. These are limited, or they're what is it called?
Bespoke.
Like,
those are bespoke hats.
Yeah, basically, like, they're just limited edition.
Items.
Yeah, collector's item. Thank you. They're a collector's item. But well, yeah, I was thinking about making pins, like, you know, for people, like the 1v1 podcast and my logo and stuff like that. And I think that would be really cool, because I would wear a pin. Like, I would put it, like, on my hat somewhere.
Those are cool. Challenge coin, maybe. Yeah,
and what's great?
Challenge coins. Those are cool too.
Yeah. Well, because honestly, just like with my whole 1v1 setup now. Like, and I remember telling you this, like, you guys were the reason why I did that. And you guys, again, are the reason why I need to go back and just redo my merch store. Cause it's like, I see the loreforge.com and I see how epic. I'm like, dude, I look again like I am just this shady shop. Hey, come and buy my hat, you know? And I see Loreforge just looking so professional. And I'm like, I gotta step my shit up.
Competition is the thief of joy. Don't really let yourself get sucked into that. You're doing fantastic. We love your stuff.
No, for sure. But no, I really love you guys. Like, every time when y'all do something, you guys do it with a polish, like, every single time. Like, as everything that I've ever known from you guys, like, I'm pretty infamous for half-assing. I mean, you can look at my content, and you can definitely see the utter form of half-assing. But I don't see you guys do that, and again, I really tip my hats off to you guys, because every time when there's like a video or an episode or something needs to be done, it's always done so crafted, and that's something I've always appreciated from you guys. And I just want to let y'all know that it was just, again, y'all have such a quality to your show, to how you are in the guild. I've heard many great things about the Black Talon Trading Company. It's pretty awesome that we're kind of partnered with you guys in game right now, which is really cool. But before we go into any of that stuff, I got to ask you, first impressions, dude. Like, we haven't really talked since the game launched, since we're actually playing Alpha 2. How are you liking Ashes of Creation?
It is, man, it's hard to summarize it, right? Because there's so many things that you could go. Do you want to go with like the stability? Do you want to go with the systems? Do you want to go with the gameplay loops that you have? Do you want to go with the time that you're able to get into the game and the testing? Am I supposed to be enjoying the game, or am I supposed to be testing the game, right?
Well, we're trying to do both, right? We're trying to do both.
I would say this. I am, and I think that this is pretty universal amongst the three of us, myself, JB, and Cash. I think that the thing that we commonly go back to is how surprised we are about the level of intrigue. Cash would call it addicted. I don't think I'm quite there yet, but like how much we look forward to playing this game despite all of the things that are unfinished, all of the issues that it has, everything like that. Like, there's something magical about it that keeps us coming back and keeps us playing every weekend, and we are excited when Friday rolls around. That would be my first impression. To summarize everything that's going on is near impossible for me, but I am excited to play this game despite any of the myriad of things going on.
Right. I mean, it's one of those things that when I got in, and I got in a little early, because when I talked to Steven in my interview, I just sent him a message after our conversation. I said, hey, if you need another dedicated tester in your PTR, I'm here. And then he was like, all right, got you, boo. Like, basically. And I was like, oh my God. So I got to play it early before everybody else a little bit. And it was really hard not to talk about, because I remember for me, and going in the game, the one thing I wanted to know was, does it actually look better on my computer than just seeing it on Twitch or on YouTube? And God, yes. Dude, is there visual problems with the game? Absolutely. But God, dude, going in the game for the first time was like an experience for me, because it's something like we've waited like 4 years. Like, I saw this game in 2020, saw it from Unreal Engine 4 going into Unreal Engine 5. It's the game I made like hours and hours and hours, hundreds of hours of content over. And being in the game for the first time and actually able to push buttons, it was like a surreal experience. I'm like, holy shit, I'm actually playing this game now. Like, I'm not just talking about it anymore. And I think that was the coolest thing. And I know for me, MAME as a fighter is one of the freaking most awesomest abilities I've ever pushed in a freaking MMO. Like, it's so good. And so, Sonny, what class are you playing? Are you playing?
Hang on. I want to stop for a second. I want to flip the tables on you here for a second, because I want to talk about your interview with Steven here.
Oh, okay.
So you finally got your interview with Steven, and man, so as a precursor to this, I've said it before, I thought your interview with Steven was like the best thing for Ashes of Creation since the Lazy Peon videos. I learned more about the game from your interview and had a better experience than anything since that original one. coming from the horse's mouth here, how was that experience for you?
Oh, dude, it was nerve-wracking for me. Like, I wasn't nervous at all. And then as soon as the day of, I was feeling a little bit of stuff. My wife was like, why are you pacing? Because I was just like going to the living room, going back to the game room, going to the living room, back to my game room. And she was just like, and as the moment was coming, it was just like, I had everything in my mind, like of how I wanted to conversate, how I wanted to lead thing to thing. And I didn't want to mess up. I didn't want to forget something or, and there were some things that I did forget and I kind of remembered in hindsight and I was like, fuck. But overall, like, I just wanted to make sure I did the best I could for the community. Cause I know I was a little scared being the first one right out of the gate. And I knew a lot of people were going to be expecting certain questions and certain things. And, and I just didn't want to mess up. I wanted to make sure that for the community and even for me, like, that we got the best questions possible. And I was really happy with how Steven answered some of those questions. There were some things I felt like he kind of dodged around a little bit, but that's usually typical for Steven, right? But yeah. I thought for the most part, it was, he was awesome. Like when he first came into the channel, he immediately made me almost settle down completely. Like just his tone, his demeanor, what we talked about, like 3 minutes before we started the thing, it was just, it made me settle my nerves down. So that was really good.
I love it. It was great. It was a great experience on the user end of the thing. It was a lot of fun to listen to. You learned a ton. So
no, for sure. So what class are you playing? Like, what are you playing in Ashes of Creation?
Right. So I started out as a bard, and that was a mistake. It just did not resonate. It did not
really?
Resonate. Yeah. I don't know why I picked it, honestly. Like, I think I had like a little micro stroke or something when I was in the character creator, and I got all excited and I clicked bard, and I got into the game, and it's not the class. It's not you. It's me. It was a me thing. Like, my game style didn't resonate with what the bard was trying to do. Like the abilities didn't make sense in my brain for how I was doing it. And on top of that, I was streaming it at the same time, which is sometimes a mistake. I know when you're streaming something, you have a lot going on. You're monitoring a lot of things that are behind the scenes that people don't realize. And
absolutely,
in doing that, you can't devote that kind of time to like stare at a tooltip and read something and then like try it a few times. And this is really boring on a stream. Mm-hmm. And so you're doing this whole thing, and I couldn't do it. And I'm sorry. You and I are both sick. So we're both sick. We are muddling through this. I've got like, did you know that they make NyQuil and DayQuil in tea form? I did not know this. So my wife laid this out. So I am like, I am probably massively overdosing on the various quills at this point.
It's totally fine, dude.
But we're going to make it through it. And I got like cough drops here and everything. The bard wasn't working, so I switched to a mage. And the mage is spectacular for me. The mage blink is my favorite ability in the whole game. Really? It is release perfect. It is so good. The warping that you get visually when you go, and then the little warping you get when you arrive, and the visuals for it, and the sound, and the camera effect that it does is so incredibly well crafted. It is like chef's kiss artist work. I've never been more satisfied with something like that. And then second is the lightning strike, where they just wind up with that thing and then hammer down, and that is great. It's only because the blink is so good that takes second, because that would be the best game. That would be the best ability in any other game I'd played. I'm a very solo player type of guy. And I know that audience is listening to you and audience is listening to me, and comments on YouTube have clearly shown that. It's like, why do people keep talking about solo play? This is an MMO. You're not supposed to do that. Well, I got news for you. MMOs are filled with all sorts of people. Okay. There's people of every kind of background. And some of those people play by themselves quite a bit. I'm not afraid to go into groups. It's just not my normal thing. Yeah. And so I typically gear my characters around solo play. So the mage just intuitively made more sense to me. The abilities, I'm moving them around, I'm testing out different things. It just is a more fun experience for me. I will not change until the rogue comes out. I will try a rogue because the rogue is sort of the tip of the spear for solo play. Okay. The abilities for a rogue almost always have a lot of solo type of skill sets and things like that. But I'm not an alt player. I don't play alts. The only alts I typically have are like a banking alt, and I don't even think that's going to be a thing in this game. So I will stick with that one character, like ride or die, unless I make a complete main switch, and that might be to the rogue.
Really? Okay, that's interesting. So from we've been having a lot of discussions in the Discords that I've been in, communities that I've talked to about solo play. Now, we've all had this kind of agreement that Ashes was going to be a more group-centric game, which we can all agree that that's the case. But even with the systems not currently being online yet, there's certain systems that I think are going to make solo play more attractive. I do think the trek of solo play is going to be possible in Ashes. I think it's just going to be, harder than even classic World of Warcraft was, because classic World of Warcraft was very much designed for you to completely solo that game. Like really, like there were some things that you can do as a group. There were some group quests, but you didn't need to do those group quests. They weren't completely stopping you, or that was a barricade into like, well, I can't go any further until I complete these group quests. That wasn't the case. In Ashes, there's going to be like a golden path that you can potentially follow, but I think that golden path is there's going to be stuff that's going to run out. There's not going to be thousands of quests for you to do in a certain area and then just move on. Like, I think there's going to be things that are you're going to have to grind. Like, there's going to be places you're going to have to go and do stuff. And I talked to certain solo players, and so a lot of people said that that's fine. Like, some people don't mind grinding, but there's other players that are like, if I don't have any more quests to do, I am not going to just beat an area and grind for hours. Like, that's not how I find my enjoyment in gameplay. But what's your take on the whole soloing in Ashes?
Well, like you said, that's the state of the game right now, right?
Right. That's just
the state of the game is if you want to get levels, you have to grind. For example, this weekend. So I work as a professional firefighter, and so I work 24-hour shifts. So I'm at the station. And when I have time for myself, I can play a game. The problem is when that bell goes off, I stop. Like, there is no, I got to get to a safe zone. I got to log out. I got to do this. Right. No, it is like, take stuff off your lap, go to truck. That's it. Right. I have like 60 seconds to be in gear and out the door. I don't have time to do any of these things. So I just leave. Right. When you do that, and you're out in the wilds of Vera, very often when you come back, you find yourself at an ember spring. And then you have a nice little red bar that shows you how much debt you have. And so that's not great. And so while I'm at the station, I worked like a weird schedule, but I ended up working Friday and Sunday over this week and the last week. And so I really spent a lot of my time in game by myself, just chopping trees down. And you get nowhere doing those quests, those artisan quests. You get nowhere. The mayor ones, if they even exist, like in New Ayla, there wasn't any this whole weekend. I don't know if it's just because the mayor didn't put any up, or because they took them down, or what was happening, but like those weren't there at all. So I started this weekend at level 10 and a quarter, and I ended it at like level 10 and a little bit more than a quarter. Like, wow. I got nowhere. The only way right now, and I don't know, somebody correct me if I'm wrong, but the only way to get levels right now is with a group grinding mobs, period. Yep. There's just not quests in there. So they'll this is like an overarching theory here, and pardon me if I'm talking too much here, but the whole gameplay for Ashes of Creation is not designed for me right now. I am an economy guy. I am a somewhat solo gamer. I like doing like auction house and market things and spending time in relatively safe places and building things and running larger behind the scenes systems. None of that exists right now, and the game is not designed for me. They are the testing that they're going through is about stability. It's about getting lots of people in the same place and going through mobs. And it's about making sure that this whole thing has a functional platform to build off of.
Right.
Both visually, systematically, everything like that. We're talking big systems.
Yes.
The artisan stuff that they have is a shell. It is, your bottom few levels. You can only sell to vendors. The caravan system, they want to get that thing working, and they're getting better at it. There've been bugs, but they're getting better. We're talking big systems. So it's not designed for me. Phase 2 is the rise of Sunny. That's where all of it comes in.
A lot of the profession stuff, from what I've heard, is going to come through. Now, right now, what's crazy enough, there's over 1,500 recipes across all 22 professions, which is really freaking nuts across both processing and crafting. Now, from what is there, because I'm pretty sure you and your artisans in the guild have gotten together, looked at all of the materials required. Like, from the artisans that I've talked to, they're very excited about the prospect of when an auction house goes up and these things are starting to sell, because there's a lot as far as profession goes.
So I made a calculator, and this is something that's in our Patreon. I made a thing called the C3, the Capital Crafting Calculator, and it's a break-even cost recipe calculator, and it's got a tracker and it's some other stuff. And it got so in depth that I actually had to join a Discord channel for spreadsheet nerds to figure out some of this stuff. Like we went full Sunny on this one, and so I built this thing. I had to enter in 2,996 different items. 2,996 different items that are components for crafting things. It is nuts. The level of
just
depth.
the early stuff, because this is not even anything past level 20. Like, yes, that's ridiculous.
There's going to be more, and it is it's crazy.
Right.
But like animal husbandry doesn't exist, right? Like that is probably the system that most people are most excited about, and it just doesn't exist yet. And so when they drop into that, you're going to see a huge influx of excitement on that thing.
Oh, absolutely.
I think that the auction house thing and the sort of bazaar concept that most nodes will have, where you have player stalls, that's going to be a real wake up call for a lot of gamers. They don't know what's coming, but it's coming, and that is a sort of ESO style, messy. Stalls everywhere. You don't know where stuff is. Maybe they have a master list somewhere of like where you can find ingredients and who's selling what, but I don't know that they have to.
No.
Everything outside of the economic node, once it gets to the level that they can actually have a proper auction house. And that will drive home the point of how powerful a singular source of selling is in this game.
Absolutely. I can't
People
wait.
are going to go crazy trying to find stuff in divine nodes and military nodes and scientific nodes. It's going to be awful. And they'll move their stuff to those economic nodes. It's going to be a thing. So,
well, for me, as someone who I never played ESO, I'm a World of Warcraft player through and through. So a lot of these systems sound very exciting to me. And I don't want the map to show me where every possible stall is. To be honest with you, I like the secretiveness that system could potentially provide, but it's up to you. If you want to sell your goods, you have to start being the promoter. Like you have to go and go out there, and it's like a bazaar. Like, right, when you're watching like Aladdin as an example, and Jasmine's going through the thing, you hear people advertising their goods to people, and that's what trade chat's going to be for. That's what the say option for chat's going to be for, right? And be like, hey, I got some uncommon or rare items here, for swords or shields or some focuses or armor, light armor, whatever. Like, and I think that prospect just sounds really freaking cool. The fact that you can tell just in every single node how big these things are going to end up becoming, because you can almost see the shell of like how big like New Ayla will potentially be when it comes to Metropolis, how big it could be when it goes even to like a city. And I think that is another really cool thing. There's just a lot of really cool things on the horizon. And I've said a lot of people because people are really judging this game, I think, very harshly right now, which some of it is totally valid and others I think isn't warranted, because you're literally talking about less than 5% of the game. And for people to judge the game at 5% its capacity, I think is a bit unfair. Now, if you want to judge it based off of the combat you're seeing, if you want to judge it based off of even graphics, like, cool. Like, we all know graphics is going to change. Stuff is going to get better. Combat, I think the combat is in a very good state. As someone who's playing the fighter, as someone who's probably playing the mage, dude, combat, I mean, Pirate Software is playing the mage too. I see a lot of mage gameplay just by seeing his shorts, by seeing him play on stream. He's loving it. Like, and a lot of people always say, oh, the combat looks like trash. It does not play like trash. Even from a melee standpoint, man, it plays so good. The sounds are, dude, whoever's in the sound team at Intrepid, holy shit. Because I've played a majority of like the theme park MMOs out, like a majority of them, except ESO. And these are some of the best like sounds from combat I've heard. And that's even, I think, surpassing World of Warcraft for me. Like, no joke. It's so satisfying to hear some of the ripping of the flesh. But what's even crazier is, as a melee, if I'm hitting a rock golem, I actually hear the tinning of like me hitting rock. It's like, what?
That's cool. I didn't even know that was in.
Yes,
I didn't know that was in there.
It's so wild. I'm like, there's no way they added that sound in an alpha. Like, I would expect that sound to come way later. But the fact that it's there now just shows the kind of dedication. It shows the kind of passion that these developers have. And even, if you want to steer the conversation a little bit, now we're at week 4, Sonny. We haven't talked like in a very, very long time. The updates. Holy crap, dude. Every week has been these insane updates. Like, and apparently this is going to be the case. Like, every week, this is not going to change. Like, this is par for the course. Another thing I got notified on, because I was wondering, are some of the freaking devs still in crunch? Maybe that's why we're getting all these updates so quickly. No, 95% of people working in Intrepid are working regular hours now. That's been the case.
Wow. So
this is just how it is. Which for me as an MMO gamer, it just boggles my mind. You know what I mean?
Yeah, you've very much been able to see the progress week to week. And like you said, this is 5% of the game. It's funny because I really have not, I sort of purposely avoid some of the outside noise on this game.
Oh, I listen to it all.
Yeah, and you're not alone. Lots of people do. It's just my sort of style not to, and that's a choice. But in doing that, like, the people that are in the game, they can recognize what exists and what doesn't exist. Like, they understand how much of the game we're seeing, and they know, like, well, this system isn't even close to done, and this system is close to done. And it's funny, like, the opinions on the professions are hilarious, because like Sale in your chat here said, like, who in their right mind would want to grandmaster lumber milling? Like, it's me. I am the grandmaster lumber miller.
Hey, I'm a lumberjack. I've been chopping trees down like it's 1999, dude.
That's awesome. Love that mid-level processing game. That's where I live. I live right there. I don't live at the end on the crafting. I don't live at the beginning on the gathering. I live in the middle on the volume processing. It's my favorite gameplay.
Oh yeah.
And there's a lot of stuff like that. But I mean, the things that people are only now realizing in the game about like where it's at and where it's not at, the combat is better than I thought it would be.
Oh, dude.
They've spent a ton of time in the combat, and they are continuing to get better each week. It continues to improve. The stability improves. The every time I log in, there's more stuff around that now they're like, okay, can they still do these things when you have these things in place?
Right.
And so it's like, it's a real testing, and you feel like they're getting better. You don't feel like you're logging in week after week after week, and you're like, God, I wish they would finally fix this. It feels like, oh, I can't believe that all this new stuff is already here, and they're continuing to get better. So there's really that. One thing that I do want to say, just to make sure that I get it out, is the caravan system. Like, the caravan system is so powerful right now, and it's so important. And I feel like a lot of the gamers don't realize like how big a deal this is going to be in the game. They're starting to figure it out. Yeah. But man, we tested some stuff with economy. It's 12x return every time. When you run a caravan, you buy your stuff with glint, you could sell that glint right there for X amount. You are getting 12 times that amount when you run a caravan. And you're starting to see it. Mark my words, as we get closer to the wipe, it is going to be open season on caravans, because it is nuts, like how profitable those caravans exist. And there's no other way to get money. You can't make money doing anything else. You have to sell to vendors. But it is the guilds that succeed are going to be the ones that are able to freely move their stuff through caravans. And it's just, it's a great system. Caravans, nodes. Those are your two things right there. That's Ashes of Creation in a nutshell. If they are able to dial those two things in well, that will set them apart. Like that will be the thing that people talk about 100 years from now when they excavate the MMO genre, and they're like, this game was about caravans and nodes. Those are the things.
Sorry, almost killed me. No, I completely agree. And honestly, we've left a lot of bug reports on the caravan system. Oh my God. A lot of bugs. I mean, man, there's especially the transitioning from like the, you know, on land caravan to the water caravan. We've had floating caravans. We've had underground caravans. We've had a whole bunch of different stuff. And I think, again, it's all valuable data. They need all this stuff. And there's a lot of people that get very frustrated because they're like, man, I had like all this glint in this caravan. No, it messed up. It's like, dude, it doesn't even matter anyway. Like all the glint that you have, it's going to be reset in the 20th anyway. Like this is, but it's what I find to be very interesting, because I always thought it's alpha. I don't think people are going to get too attached to their characters. It's a testing phase. Dude, people are like very attached to their characters, like way more than I thought, to be honest. It was
imagine at the end of phase 2, right? Like if they wipe at the end of phase 2
going into phase 3. Oh yes. Like and I think again it's all gonna happen. Like, and this is again why I tell people take breaks. And I know it's hard to take a break now because you're only playing weekends, right?
Yeah.
Like, and you want to be able to play, you want to be able to grind, you don't want to feel like you're left behind or whatever. But at the end of the day, it ain't gonna matter because it all is gonna be reset anyway. Like what I want from testers is to keep testing. The only way you can do that is to not burn out, because what's crazy is I've been doing it myself. I've been playing like every day for like 12 hours almost, like from like, Saturday and Sunday, I play almost 12 hours. Like you can hear me on Roar's stream because I haven't streamed this past weekend because I've been sick, but I've been playing. And I get it. You know, I'm having a ton of fun. It's nice to be in Discord with, I'm sure you have it in your guild too, just being in Discord and have everybody's talking so passionately and actively and having fun in these adventures, and they're experiencing the game. And it's so addicting. Like I haven't felt addicted to getting into Discord to hear people talk. I don't even know how long, like, because even in WoW, it just burns out because the new raid's out. People are excited for like a week and then it's old news and it's just like, it just fizzles, you know? And I think what everything's been happening in Ashes, there's this staying power there, and it's just with 5% of the game, Sonny. Like, can you imagine like how insane this game's going to get? Like this is Frieza, like base form. Like we have like 5 more forms to get into, you know what I mean? And we're talking about Frieza base form here. Like, I'm sorry to get an anime reference, but you know what I mean? Like, it's just like,
I'm with you. I'm tracking.
It's crazy. Like, I don't know. Like, I'm really excited about the future of this game because people are already just loving it. Like the people, I'm talking like the community that has followed this project for a long time are like falling in love with this game. And we only have like a fraction of it. So
yeah, that's always the big fear with people like you and I, you know, that end up spending a lot of time and energy building something on a gamble, and it's a gamble because we don't know what the game is going to be. Like JB and Cash and I joke about stuff like we almost started a show on Starfield, like the Is that the Bethesda one that just came out?
Oh God, no.
What is is it Starfield?
Yes.
Yeah.
No.
And like stuff like that. Like, can you imagine? Like,
no.
We would have taken a bullet to the head on that one. That would have been a terrible decision. And
right.
And all of these projects that we've done over the years they're all gambles. Like, is this thing going to live up to what we want? For God's sakes, like when I started, my very first podcast was Star Wars: The Old Republic. And it was a blast to get the show going. And then when the game came out, it kind of wasn't really what we wanted in the long run. It was extremely unsustainable.
Yeah.
This game, you said it, I said it. There is something in the sauce that is addicting on this thing that makes you want to come back and do more. And they're continuing to build on it. And I don't know what kind of crazy lunatic builds an MMO in this environment, but like, we're thankful.
It's true. Yeah. Very thankful.
Because we have something to do.
Yeah.
The thing that's happening in my community a lot, and admittedly our community is kind of, it's segmented in fun little ways, not terribly important, but like the raiders and the PvP people, and then my sort of division, which is called Capital, which is all about economy and politics and things like that. Mm-hmm. And what I'm finding is that people want to spin up all of these systems and they want to build all of these things to handle all of the problems that exist. But some of the problems that exist only exist because those systems aren't yet in the game, Right. And the one of the unsung things that Intrepid is doing that a lot of people don't realize is that they're not releasing an API. They don't have an API to this game, which is an API is like a back-end code thing that gets released to the public so that, like, for example, in Guild Wars, you could have this Guild Wars online website that tracks all of the prices for everything that exists. That won't exist in this game.
Right.
Steven is very big on having that personal interaction. He wants you to go out into the world. He wants to have those nodes be regionalized so that like certain things you can only get in this area and you have to go and move those products to another area, which creates import-export stuff.
Right.
All of these things, this game is different. It is a real testament back to old school MMOs. It reminds me a lot of Star Wars Galaxies. Where you had to have that person-to-person interaction, where you had Cash, the doctor, who's like selling his wares because he's the best doctor on this planet and people know who he is and they go to him specifically. That's that kind of bizarre, sort of player style type of thing. And I think that, when phase 2 comes out, we're going to see a shift into understanding where Intrepid's head is at on MMO design. So I think a lot of that stuff, a lot of those systems, you don't have any idea what they're going to look like because they're not in the game right now. This first phase is about setting those base things up, but they've done a great job and they're getting better every single week. So
yeah, it's
exciting. It's an exciting time.
It is. I really didn't know. I didn't have any kind of an expectation of phase 1. I was like, we all know with server stability, they want to make sure the servers are super rock solid before the dynamic gridding goes into place in phase 2. But man, like this time, like it's just been so much fun. And I don't know, man, like I think we're really in for it for phase 2. And my boy Vale mentioned something too. The monster coin system. The monster coin system has been technically working because Steven has been transforming himself into a monster. And honestly, people have been poo-pooing this monster coin system and thinking this is so unimmersive. It's going to be such a terrible system. Bro, every single time when you have like this huge boss spawn in a node, everybody goes nuts. Like everybody's just having a blast. Like it's just like this event. And that's what these things are supposed to do. It's supposed to incite this feeling of fun and intrigue and excitement. And there's like a thing that's abnormally here that's not supposed to be here. And I don't know, it feels like Godzilla a little bit, right? It's just like there's something in our town like wreaking havoc. Oh my God. And it's exciting, man. That's the thing about this game with just glimpses of these other systems. And there's much more to this game than just a monster coin system. But it's just like you said, there's just something about this game that's just so addicting, and it's only gonna it's only gonna get worse. It's only gonna, for people like me.
The addiction.
Yeah, it's gonna get worse for me. But I think that's gonna be such a great thing, because what I really want to get that compulsion into is the content making. I've taken a step back from making content right now, because I had to get a brand new computer. I'm still trying to transition from all of my old computer is technically right there. It's my wife's computer now, as you can see a monitor here now, because it wasn't there before. So I'm transitioning all the data that I have onto this new one. That's taken a while. And honestly, like, and then me getting sick didn't help anything. And so I'm just like, you know what? And then next weekend, I'm not going to be streaming. I'm not going to be playing Ashes at all, because this coming Wednesday is my daughter's first birthday. So we're actually going
congratulations.
Yeah, dude. Can't believe it's been a year already, but that's wild. So to me, she's still a baby, but now she's like a 1-year-old. And so I'm going to be going to my hometown with my mom and dad, and we're going to be celebrating her first birthday at my parents' house. So I won't be back until Sunday night. But man, it's just, everything has been happening in the game, and these updates have been so freaking good, and these changes. And again, another small change, Steven, if you're watching, please, very small change. When we log into Ashes of Creation, please stop the server roulette when we log in.
What's up with that?
Please, just when we stop it at the
one character.
Yeah, like, stop it at the server that we're at. Like, that's it. You know what I mean? The last
same one every time.
The same server we logged into, have us log into that same server. Like, small change, best quality of life ever. You know what I mean?
That would be nice.
That would be nice. So
I want to talk about something with you here, because you and I, it's a blast to be able to come on your show, because you're a kindred spirit in the content creation universe. And you understand this whole game, and you've been doing it a while, and you do it very well.
Well, thank you.
The interaction with the community from the developers and from Steven has been something that we've never experienced before.
Oh, man.
JB and Cash and I have been doing this in dozens of different arenas for over a decade, and we've never seen anything like this. So we had the extra live stream, and we had a bunch of events, and one of the events was the naked walk from, I don't even know where we went from, like, I don't know, like Nuela to Winstead or something like that.
Oh my God. I saw that video. It was so cool.
Steven ends up commandeering an ancient, flies it down from the sky, and is in the path that he knows we're going to go to. So he's watching the stream. The devs are watching the stream, and he lands in there, and it was Jib's got it, Lion Hold to Nuela. And he's there, and he just shows it off, and we all take selfies with him and everything like that. And then he flies away. And it was just like, this dude has got so much going on. These devs are just flying full speed all weekend, trying to fix all of the things for us. And yet to take the time out to make these experiences for us. And I'm not the only one. He had the whole thing with pockets, right? Yeah. With the mask and the Tower of Carfin and everything like that. Mm-hmm. Like, there are stories on stories on stories of these moments where these devs are popping into your chat and saying, hi, how are you doing? What do you think? How's it going? On your stream, doing this stuff, just making that experience special. And in the big picture of things, like, you and I are not the biggest streamers out there. We are not the Asmongols. We are not the Pirate Softwares. Like, but yet we are treated as though we are important to the project, and that is so special. And so that moment for our community, and for Pocket's community, and for your community, when stuff like that happens, it's not something that I've ever experienced. And I wondered just like what your take was on that.
So when I played Burning Crusade, I never really got to see any of the GMs. Only a couple of times. And so when they popped into the game, they would do something like, we would be saying like, hey, there's this guy being a douche or whatever. And a GM would just pop out of nowhere and be like, okay, like, we banned him or whatever. We looked through his chat and he's gone. You don't have to worry about him anymore. And it was like, oh my God, like a person from Blizzard, we were just like freaking out. And so I remember that being a thing back then. This was circa 2006.
That's what JB said. He said it was a very old school approach and an old school experience. And you've been around Warcraft since the beginning. So like, that's old, right?
Yes, it is. It's a very prehistoric thing that happened back in old school MMO land. But no, I think you have to understand, Steven is a player much more than he's a CEO, and much more than he's the owner of Intrepid Studios. And I think he's just, when I asked him, I said, how surreal is your experience, like in a vision that you had in 2015 into this potential idea of an MMO, and now like looking back on that and seeing what has been created and seeing the steps that it took to be created. Like, is that like, how surreal is that experience? Because it's like, I can't imagine what that's like. Like, in someone who is in content creation, right? It's like seeing a project from the concept of the idea to now looking at the finished product of The River and seeing how it came out. It's a surreal experience, right? Like, you're like, oh my God, like we did this. Like it was just a figment of our imaginations, and now it's actually put and made to life. But it's like with Steven, like he's just having fun. And it's something that when you're not given the keys to the castle and you have to rely on your corporate overlords to make sure that the game that you're playing is handled with the respect and dignity you hope it gets deserved, right? And you don't see it get treated that way. You see it riddled with monetization. You see it riddled with bots and multi-boxing. You see it riddled with just bullshit, you know? And I think it has to be so gratifying for Steven to be at the position he is, to be like, fuck all that. I'm going to make my own game and just literally have the fun that I've always wanted. And I think that's what you're seeing. The thing is that you guys, you know, myself, many other content creators, we've been here championing this game for years. You know what I mean? And I think he is very appreciative of that, because no one had to do this. No one had to make content on a game that literally didn't even exist, but we did it out of sheer passion. It's the same passion that drives Steven to literally make Ashes of Creation in itself. So when I see Steven go into your stream, or when I see Steven take, you know, Warrior up to the top of, you know, the Carfin and kill him on stream, and I just start laughing. I'm like, this is so great, you know?
That's so funny.
I just see Steven having fun. And I think that's the thing of, like, when you talk kindred spirits, like that's what we all are here for. We want an MMO to have fun in again. And, you know, I know this whole hat thing, you know, but it's nice to actually see MMOs feeling great, you know, becoming what they once were, you know, the thing, whatever MMO you came from back in the early 2000s. That's why you consider yourself an MMO player, because of that first initial gaming experience. And that can't be replicated. That feeling, like, honestly can't ever be touched. But the fact that there's people that have told me going into Ashes of Creation, it made it seem like I was stepping into EverQuest for the first time. It made it seem I was stepping into Azeroth for the first time. That's a heavy thing to say. But people have told me that. And honestly, for myself, as someone who has played Warcraft for almost 17 years, when I stepped into Ashes of Creation, I told you earlier, like, it was a very surreal experience to me, because, oh my God, like, I'm actually here. I'm in this game. It's not a scam. Thank God, you know, like, it's real, you know? And it was just something that I really enjoyed, and I'm continuing to enjoy. And again, I can't even fathom what phase 2 or even what phase 3 is going to look like, because we're already getting these updates at such a record freaking pace. The changes to the game has been spectacular. And I'm just, again, when I go in and I see Steven doing what he did with Asmon, going what he did with the Power Software, doing what he did with you guys, all I see is a dude on his game having fun. And it's really refreshing to see.
Yeah, I mean, going into those next phases and stuff, and the work that the developers are doing in these patches, you know, there's a scene in the movie The Martian. He's at the end. He's come back from Mars. I don't know if you've seen this movie before. I have. Many people have seen it. It's spectacular.
Yeah, it's a good.
And he's talking to the other to these new astronaut recruits, and he's like, you get up there and something goes wrong, and what do? Well, you work the problem. Just that problem, right? The problem that's in front of you, the small problem, you work that one. And then when you're done with that one, you work the next problem. And if you work enough problems, if you get enough right, you get to go home. And it's like that with the content creation that you and I do, right?
Yep.
Like you have the thing, you work the problem. It's like that with the people in the guild that want a crafting calculator. It's like, okay, I can build a crafting calculator. You work a problem, and then eventually all of a sudden you have this thing. The developers are doing the same thing. I'm taking one problem, they work that problem, they get done. They work the next little problem. It's when things become, when you're trying to do the big picture instead of the problem, is when you get those like games that don't make sense, that are riddled with monetization. You're like, how did you get here? Like you guys didn't solve the small problems. You just put out the big thing and then tried to fix that. Like that's not how it's done. And I think that I think the developers I don't know what their culture is like on the inside. I'm not on the inside, but you have to think that there's a very good culture of like, we do the things that are in front of us in the order prescribed. If we change the order, that's fine. If we change the approach, that's fine, but you still follow the process and you can see the results that are happening. And when they get to phase 2, I don't know if they're going to hit phase 2 on that mark that they said they would.
I don't know either.
It's possible, but like it's such a, you can see now the monumentous step between phase 1 and what the description of phase 2 is.
Absolutely.
So like that is a huge leap. That is not a step. That is a leap. Yeah. And so if they're not ready by the end of December, I'm fine with that because I can see all of the progress they're making. If I thought they weren't making any progress, I'd say that. But it's not true. They are making progress. It's just I don't know how much progress they need to make before they dump phase 2 on us. Right. Because that's big.
Yes.
So
well, I mean, as far as the server, because Steven mentioned it, he says this was the most stable weekend that they've had so far, and I do agree. Like the places we were at, dude, we were in Carfin majority of the weekend, and Carfin the week before, bro, it was rough. It was rough, bro. And on my character, I was able to do my full rotation. The buttons responsive was pretty good. It wasn't 100% the most optimal I've ever pushed a button in Ashes, but for it being a bunch of groups everywhere in the tower, it was performing very well. Like I was able to do my whole rotation. I was able to do stuff, no problem. Like it wasn't laggy. There was like a slight, like you can felt like this slight kind of molasses feel, but it wasn't laggy. And I think for them to have achieved that in a place where it's so heavily condensed like Carfin, a tip off to the hat, man. I mean, again, this is the whole idea of this phase 1 is server stability, and certain server workers are working a lot harder than others. The Highwayman Hills area, that's a huge problem area for a lot of them. Oakenbane Keep is a huge problem for a lot of it. Carfin was also a huge problem. But the fact that you see this, and I know it doesn't feel like it because we're still only 5% of the game, but because everything is happening on the back end. So people aren't seeing like content being like rolled out where you see like new patches of things or whatever. But what's even crazier is every week you actually, so there was a caravan. It was like a broken down caravan that I remember seeing in the Riverlands that was completely grayed out. It was like a grayscale caravan. It hadn't been colorized or textured or anything like that. It's textured now. Yeah. It's even crazier.
I ran into this just the other day. I was like, what the hell is this?
Yeah. And what's even crazier.
Did someone drive a caravan here? Like, where would this come from?
What's even crazier.
Stuff like that is just showing up.
Yeah. There's mobs that weren't there 2 weeks ago that are there now, like literal brand new like mob types that just are there like in certain locations that literally there was no mobs there before. Now there are mobs there. So it's like I see all this stuff and I'm thinking to myself, dude, they are clearly like doing shit. And again, just with these updates, like when you're in the PTR, they give you updates, and you know, Rory will make a video or Jamie make a video on the new PTR update notes. And these are happening daily. Like it's insane, like how much updates. And then so by the time Friday hits, you're getting like 5 days worth of patches all in one when you go in for that weekend. And it's just insane. Like there's so much that they're doing. It's just, I don't know, man. Like, I don't know how else to describe it. They're just being so grateful, man, because it's like,
I don't know how they're doing it though, right? Like you've been around games your whole life. You've been around this type of game your whole life. And like, I've never seen the speed and effectiveness of this before. Like to me, it seemed like what they're doing would take 2 to 3 times as long anywhere else. And so I don't know if it's just that kind of like agile system that they have where they're not a publicly traded company and they have a lot more control, and the employees are all rock stars in their field, right? Like they've just got
they ain't hard slouches.
No, they are not. They've got a crew of people that are highly qualified and seem to enjoy their job. Now, I don't know how true that is, but like it seems that way. And the proof is coming out in the work that we're seeing on a regular basis. It just is consistently coming out with quality stuff that's improving the game week to week. And it blows my mind sometimes how fast it's actually happening and some of these systems. So maybe there is a chance that behind the scenes, we haven't seen all the stuff for phase 2 that is just going to kind of be unloaded on us. But I would predict, if it was between you and me, I would predict that we would see a much more scaled approach into phase 2 rather than like a stark line of demarcation where it's like, bang, all of a sudden, all of these systems are in play, right? Like It's just a ramp into them. Like this weekend, we're going to unload this. And next weekend, we're going to unload this if all things go well.
Well, I'm actually really looking forward to this month's live stream for some reason, because it's like, I'm really curious for one, what they're going to talk about, what they're going to show. Hopefully some phase 2 goodies. That'd be really nice. But also I just want to hear the Stephen and Margaret's just take on everything that's been happening so far.
Are you surprised they're even doing live streams at this point?
I mean,
that surprised me. Like,
I'm not like, I want there to be live streams still.
Oh, I do too, but like, I'm surprised they're doing it. Like,
oh, well, yeah. I mean,
in what time are they putting this together? Right.
Well, like, here's the thing.
Where's their downtime?
Whenever you are passionate about something and you are a very busy person already, you will always find time. And I think that is literally the kind of people that Margaret and Stephen is the fact that like, hey, we know we have a bazillion and one things to do, but we want to do this. Therefore, we will find the time to do it. And again, the other thing that I've heard, and this is from some people from Intrepid, is that Stephen has been working till like 1, 2 in the morning every day. And so again, and Steven's excuse is usually like, well, I wasn't going to sleep anyway, so I might as well be here, helping like server tech engineers or just, keeping the focus, keeping the vision of what we need to do together. And anytime you've ever worked at a place where your boss is working harder than you always just feel inherently more motivated to do your job. Like, I don't know. That's how I always worked. Like when I worked at Walgreens, dude, my first boss when I worked at Walgreens is kind of a crappy place to work in general. But my first experience working there was actually not so bad because we worked at a very good store. Our district manager always said that this store was like their prize store. So I didn't know what other stores worked like or performed like or how their work ethic was. But my boss was a worker, dude. When the truck came, he was there rolling up his sleeves, doing it with us. And, he would always be doing something. He was never in the office just clerically doing stuff. And I always just felt more compelled to do stuff when I know he was doing stuff. And I think for people at Intrepid, when they see Stephen working, and because he can literally just be out somewhere in Fiji enjoying the fruits of his labor, right? I mean, he can just be going and enjoying himself, and being like, hey, I have a team to do this. This is why people hire a team so they themselves don't have to do it. But yet he's there. And I think that's what really motivates a lot of those people at Intrepid. Because they see him doing it.
It's that interaction. You don't want to let them down, right? Like the fire service is very much that way, where you're working in team environments, right? Like I work for a lieutenant, and that lieutenant works for a captain, and that captain works for a battalion chief, and those relationships initially. It's like one of the questions that they ask you on interviews for promotion and stuff like that is like, what's the most important thing that you can do in leadership? And originally my answer was always, just be militant in leading by example. Always lead by example. Yeah. And I've completely changed that in my philosophy now. And now it is make the relationships with the people that you're working with, because
absolutely,
if you make those relationships, those people will work not to disappoint you, and you will work not to disappoint them. And all of a sudden, everyone's going in the same direction, and you're all working so much harder than the like, well, this guy, you know, he does it X way, so I should do it X way. No, if you have that relationship, that's what drives that kind of behavior. And that, I think, is what you're getting out of Steven. Now, I worry a little bit anytime you have a person that drives themselves that hard, because there is, I mean, we are human beings. We are bags of meat and chemicals, and there is a breaking point for every single one of us. And I don't want to experience that in this game with the guy that is really driving this thing. And that, you know, that is a concern with something like that. So I'm sure that he has support systems around him. I'm sure that he has people that are looking out after him. I want to make sure that this is a marathon and not a sprint, because us getting to phase 2 and then having the game shut down because the vision is sick is not great. Us getting to launch because he took an hour or 2 out of his day for some personal time is infinitely more beneficial for me. So, and him, I would have to assume. So that is just something on an aside, and I'm sure that behind the scenes people are taking care of him. But man, like, there's no doubt that the dude is he's
a workaholic. Yeah, he's a workaholic.
And like what's that line from the musical, like, the eyes of the world are upon you? Like, everyone is looking at this right now. This is an opportunity, and he is not unaware of these eyes. This is a chance for him to bring something into the forefront and to reinvigorate an entire genre and to make a product in gaming this will be the biggest thing in gaming in, you know, 10 years if it goes the way that we think that it very well might. So that's why we're here. We're here for the ride, man. We're on the ground floor of the Apollo missions right now. It's a lot of fun to be in this space.
It feels like, what's crazy is that some people call me an OG. I don't consider myself an OG in the Ashes space. Like, I think for me, I consider Richie an OG.
I do. I consider you an OG in the Ashes space.
But that's what people say. And I'm like, because I think of like the people that were making content like 2019, because I came in 2021, made content in January of 2022, so I've only been doing this for like almost 3 years now. So it's like I think of like all the people that predecessed me, but what's crazy is just to see all these people like in the thick of it now, and I see the videos, I see the content they're making, I see the excitement on their faces. And I think, again, Intrepid is infamous for watching YouTube videos and sharing videos on Slack and doing all this stuff. And I think Steven is really been reinvigorated by the community that, you know, has been serving them for years, because everybody that I've heard so far has talked so positively about their experience in the Alpha 2. And, you know, for you, Sonny, like, because we've been talking for over an hour and 10 minutes. Like, I just like looked at the clock a little while ago and I was like, oh my God, it's like, it feels like we were only 20 minutes in, like 5 minutes ago, but okay.
This is why I wanted to come on your show again. I'm like, it's just a good conversation.
Yeah. So looking into the future a bit, what are you excited about going into phase 2? Like, because I know we talked a little about player stalls, we talked about the economy and stuff like that. Is that really going to be your focus when phase 2 starts? Because I think there's going to be, and Margaret said it before, that just because you see it on the list for phase 2 doesn't mean that everything is going to be day one. Those systems are gonna be online. I think, like the Rogue as an example, we know from my interview.
Yeah, there's no way that
gonna come launches probably January, maybe in February. I mean, who knows? But yeah. So I mean, what are you excited for going into the phase 2 part of Ashes of Creation? Yeah,
I mean, the economy stuff is very big for me, for a lot of reasons. I mean, you're starting to get to know me as a person, and it is very close to my heart. But it is really something that's important right now, because you have these artisan systems, and an MMO is not just combat. An MMO is not just raiding. An MMO is the whole experience, right? Oh, yeah. The MMO game, I think, is the reason why you didn't see things like Second Life really take off, because Second Life was missing the other part of it, which is the combination of the being in the universe and also being in the fantasy universe, right? Where you're not just a dude who is like an electrician, you're an electrician that also slays goblins, right? Like, exactly. And it's you need all of those things. And so right now we have half of it. We have the go out and slay the goblins. We don't have the electrician part. And I think that's really key. the other part of it, though, it's not just Warcraft without the auction house. It's what happens when Warcraft without the auction house introduces the auction house in some places, but then all of these other different systems on how you have to navigate the world outside of that. The different nodes having different flavors, I think, is the thing that I'm really looking forward to, because that is Ashes of Creation. It's this node system. The economy thing is a very big deal for me, but the implementation of it is why. It's because it's not implemented equally. It's because certain places have this massive economic advantage, and other places have this massive crafting advantage, and other places have this massive military advantage, that like all of this stuff will create the world that has to be transported, and you have to navigate where you're going to go. And, I got to get to Winstead today because I got to drop this off here, but I got to go over to this place. And where should I make this product? And how do I do it? And that says nothing about the freehold system, which is like a whole beast unto itself, right? So like, once you get into phase 2 and implement those things, the unevenness of how it gets dropped onto Vera is the part that I'm really looking forward to.
I mean, you could have said economic nodes. You could have said the freeholds, which I think the freeholds are going to be interesting, because I would love to see.
It's going to be huge.
How extensive that system is going to be even at a foundational level. We haven't even heard. I mean, I think taverns are going to come phase 3, correct? I mean, that's like a way later thing.
The question that I've had in this game, and I tried to ask Steven it when we did the interview with him, and it didn't come out exactly right. I am still fascinated to know whether or not a guild freehold takes the place of the tavern slot on the freehold. Can you have a guild freehold and a slot where you can put a tavern and an inn? Right. Or does the guild freehold take away that? I know on a regular freehold you can do it. Right. But a regular freehold might be something that I never experience. Right?
True.
It is a limited quantity thing. And anytime you have something that's limited quantity, there is no guarantee that you will experience this thing, which is, I mean, that's where you get into this whole freehold debate and people are just going to go crazy. It's that uneven distribution of all of these systems that Ashes is going to be known for in phase 2. And it's going to make the world alive. It's not going to be a cookie cutter. Every node is the same thing and you just exist close to this one and it doesn't matter. It's going to matter where you are, because that world is going to be different.
Absolutely. I mean, dude, freeholds, like just exploring the Riverlands, I'm like, man, there's so many cool places to put a house. Like I was just looking at some of the vistas and some of the I'm like, dude, could you imagine if you had a house here? Like, oh my God, it'd be so amazing. Like, I don't know. I mean, there's the potential in this game is just nutso. It's just crazy. I mean, I can't wait. Sonny, thank you so much for coming on. We're going to talk for a little bit longer in our post show, talk to some chat. I know chat's been very active, asking a lot of really good questions. So we're going to go and talk to them. But Sonny, where can people find you?
Yes. So you can find us at loreforge.com is our link tree. There may be some changes coming to that, but if you look up Loreforged on YouTube or Twitch, I stream just about every day that I'm not at work, which is most days. I have a lot of fun with that. And then we do what I call the big show, which is Loreforged Live once a week. And the shows come out on YouTube on Monday. And we have a community called the Black Talon Trading Company. And that name is apparently very popular because I've seen the Black Tide Trading Company, the Black Flag Trading Company. It's all over the place. So we're just having a blast. If you look up Loreforged, you'll find us because we're out there. But man, it's just a golden age for this whole thing. We haven't had this much fun in podcasting, for many years. It's been a great time, supported by the development team, supported by the other content creators. This is a very, very warm and welcoming community, and I hope it stays that way. I don't know if it will, but man, like you don't know what you got till it's gone, right?
We didn't even talk about the drama.
Oh, there's always drama. There's always drama. I try to stay out of it, but sometimes it's fun to just eat your popcorn and watch.
Very true. Dude, Sonny, thank you so much for coming on. And again, go to loreforge.com. You'll find some amazing merch there too. So go support them. Go support our boy Sunny for mayor. Thank you very much,
Sunny for mayor.
Just for the economic notes, though. Sunny for economic notes. All right, guys. We will see you guys on the next one. Peace. All right, that was good, man. It's always fun talking to you.
You're an easy conversation. It's so good.
I know people were saying earlier, Excel Ranger, he said the electrician who kills goblins sounds like a killer anime, not gonna lie. And I sort of laughed. I was like, dude, I would watch that. I would watch that anime for sure.
Part-time electrician, part-time goblin slayer.
Dude, when do you think Sunny is going to be the live stream? Because I have a feeling it's so the 29th is the final Friday. That's not this Friday, but
but that's the Black Friday. That's
exactly.
The Friday after Thanksgiving.
That I have
Did
a
they miss
feeling,
one? Do they miss it here?
No, I think it's gonna be on the 2nd. I think December 2nd is probably gonna be the live stream. They've done this before.
This is gravy to me, right? Like, I think this is all bonus. Like, I can't believe they're still doing them, honestly.
Yeah.
And I get the importance of it because not everybody has the alpha, and they want to continue to push that that development transparency. But man, like, they're doing so much. Like, this cycle of every weekend didn't seem like a lot at the beginning, but it is a lot. It is a lot. And so the fact that they're able to do anything like this, they have my full support to push it back a week after Thanksgiving. Plus, it's a weird Thanksgiving. It's like it's way later than it should be.
Yeah.
So, they're just gonna have to move around it, I think.
Yeah, I think it's probably going to be Monday, December 2nd, if I had to guess. Or if they're busy on that day, they can just move it to that next Friday. I mean, who cares? I mean, I would just say, please still have it though. Like, don't cancel it. But I mean, if they do, I can honestly even see them canceling it, to be honest. I mean, it just depends on what they want to do.
They've really built themselves up with this transparent cycle, and I would hate to see them transition away from that because they've done such a great job with it. So, I'm with you. I hope they do it, but I'll give them a pass if they're a little late on these things.
So this is something I forgot to ask you in our pre-show. But it's kind of fitting that maybe I talk about this with the post show. Dude, what was it like beating up with the boys? Like, in real life, you all got to meet up and go and hang out. Dude,
seriously,
you're part of the short gang like me. It's so nice. Like,
I'm not that short. I'm 5'11". They're just monsters.
They're just monstrously tall.
They're monsters.
Like, oh my
God. Like the shortest dude there by 3 inches, and I'm like 5'10", 5'11". And it was.
Man, I would feel really short meeting Cash. I'd be like, "Hi, Cash."
Oh yeah,
it's just like
JB was the one that surprised me. So I'd never met JB. That was the thing. Yeah. I have been working with JB for 10 plus years, like 13 years or something like that. We've been doing this stuff, and I'd never shaken his hand ever.
Wow.
I spun up an LLC in the state of Iowa, and I put this dude, I'm in a actual legitimate corporation with this guy and had never met him. And it's just crazy. So like, that was a real moment. There was a bunch of other people there, and it was great. And they were so fantastic. But the highlight for me was just being able to spend, a few days with those two guys. Yeah. Just so fun to be able to just chill. And well, especially like that with any vacation, right? Like, there's the events, and then there's the time in between the events, and the time in between the events is like what really matters. That's where you get your enjoyment out of it.
I don't know what JB does, but you and Cash being like firefighters and doing very like you're in high stressful environments, right? Like your job is considered to be a highly stressful job, in the grand scheme of things. So I think it's really like therapeutic at the fact that not only did y'all go and actually meet all for the first time, but you all got to go and hang out with like guildmates, right? Like y'all got to meet with other people from the Black Talent Trading Company and got to meet more of your community in real life, which I thought was really freaking cool to see.
Admittedly, some of those people, like most of those people, were not necessarily from the Black Talent Trading Company. They were like from games past. Right. And now a lot of those people have followed us along through all our projects and are in this, but it was from like a long time ago. We'd been working on this trip to the Smoky Mountains for like 2+ years, just to try to schedule something like that. And it eventually happened. And honestly, that'll probably be the last time it ever happens, because after that, we'll end up just going to a hotel in Vegas or something like that, just to make it easier.
Well, speaking, so like me and some of the other content creators, like for the launch of Ashes, we wanted to all go to Vegas. And have like that, that content creator meetup. Like that's still going to happen. Like I'm going to do it. I already told
Cash talks about this all time.
Yeah, like we're gonna do it, dude.
About it like it's already like a stat. Like there's a sign up monkey somewhere, right? Like I'm like, hey, what are you talking about? Like
the only reason why it hasn't really been set is because we technically don't know when. Like we don't want to set it in 2027, and then we realize the launch is going to be in 2028, right? So I think it's just as we get closer, we'll know. Oh, okay, like this is when this is probably the year that it's going to launch, right?
But you got to think that like Intrepid is going to do something like this too, right?
No, we're gonna do it at the MGM Grant, because that's where they're doing their party, and we're gonna casually.
Now, how do you know that's where they're doing their party? This is the kind of stuff that Cash does. Like I'm like, what are you talking about?
I don't know how I know these things, but I know these things, and so all I'm saying is we can Michael Scott our way in. Right, we can all dress up like the maitre d's and like wear some vests and stuff.
The vest
and just be like, look, there's this private shindig that's going on there. We're gonna serve drinks, and we'll go.
You think they're not gonna recognize you?
Bro, I can be the master of disguise, bro. Like, hey, that's
I can't. No, it's like it's gonna happen, right? We're not in this game this long and make it all the way to launch and don't have something at launch. Like that is absolutely going to be the thing, and it's going to be a blast. And God knows if like this marathon finish line ends up there, that you just tell me where to go and when to be there, and I'll see you there.
Yeah, I mean, ultimately, like it's going to be, I think, a very cool thing, and honestly, it's supposed to be this like celebration of the release of Ashes of Creation, and so whenever that happens, like it's going to be amazing. So I can't wait. But at the end of the day, like, bro, we're literally like making content for this game that's actually playable, and it feels so weird because now it's like my problem is I just want to play the game and not make content for it. So it's like, I'm in this, like, because we only play for like 3 days, and it's like, oh man, you mean to tell me I have to take a whole day out of my 3 days to like make content? That's like, no,
that's a real thing, right?
I'm just going to grind. Like, and that's what I do. I grind for 12 hours.
And when we get into phase 2, you're gonna have that thing even more, where you're gonna the first few weeks are gonna be tough. After that, you're gonna calm down. You're gonna be like, okay, I need to dial it in a little bit. But like, it is certainly a thing where you have to realize that you only have so much bandwidth, and you only have like personal bandwidth to be able to do the thing and also, play the game. And that's a hard thing for content creators. Like, people always expect me to know everything about the game, and I'm like, dude, I'm doing so many things here, and you guys are playing the game way more than I am. Like, I reach out to them all the time and ask like, hey, how does this work? How's this happening? And when they tell me, I'm like, thank you. It's huge.
Well, I think for you, like, most content creators are like this kind of like solo band.
Exile donated $10. Funding for your crashing the launch party disguise.
Dude, thank you so much, Exile. I appreciate that. Thank you, man. I mean, hey, Jim Halpert did his whole Dwight costume for $12, so I'm just $2 away from maybe becoming the next,
$12.
Yeah. So I don't know, but dang, what was I gonna say? What was I talking about before? So most content creators are like a solo band, right? Like I am my own content creator, my editor, my everything, my promoter, thumbnail guy. With you and with Cash and with Jibs, you guys have like a unique, the unique opportunity to rely off of others to do certain things. And I think that alleviates a lot of pressure, because with any content creator, you always feel this immense pressure to like, I got to make my next video. I got to do my next content. I got to do this and that. But it's like, whenever you have like a helping hand, it alleviates all of that pressure, and it becomes fun. right? And I think that's why it comes through so much with y'all's content, because y'all have this trifecta and it works so well. $2.
Yeah.
Donated $2. Battlestar Glad.
I told Planendorf this the other day. I was like, the secret to Loreforge is that there's 3 of us, and it really can't be understated. And not only that, but like the 3 of us are better at different things, and so we rely heavily on Jibs for like graphic design and stuff like that, and for some of that management stuff. And Cash is very good with communities, and he's gotten extremely good at video. And I've kind of taken the reins on a lot of the streaming and some of that personality type of stuff. But then in game we're different people, but there's 3 of us, right? So no matter what, even if I was good at all of those things, which I'm not, if it's just me, it's harder, right? I only have so much time. And so we're able to accomplish some things. We're able to do stuff like the river, and we're able to, these videos that come out and stuff like that. And the community, like if it was just me, there's just no chance. So that has been a secret weapon for us, but it takes a lot of trust. You can't just, like you, Vladis, are not just going to pick somebody out of the community randomly and be like, hey, I need you to do all this stuff for me. Because like, even if you could pay them to do that, like the level of trust to keep the quality of what you're trying to do is not something you just casually hand out.
Yeah, I think and I've had conversations with editors, and I haven't pulled the trigger because right now we're at least with me and my wife, we're still in this transition financially, and it's been a little rough. So I haven't been able to, like, I don't want someone to work on something and then them not be paid. So so it's been a little rough on that end, but hopefully this next coming year will be a better year when it comes to that. But like I said, I've just been trying to focus on streaming. I feel like, me and you, we're usually streaming like in the daytime, right? So it's like I'll raid onto you, you'll raid onto me. Yeah. And we'll basically just stream, because again, there's really not a lot of streamers, at least before the game was out, stream during the day. Like, and I find, heck, when my wife comes home from work at like 1 or 2, I can stream and start streaming from like, 2 to like maybe 5 or 6, or stream for a couple hours and stuff like that. And it works, you know what I mean? Because again, you have all the people that, you guys, when you do your show, it's at like 7:30 my time, like PM Central. So like I think a lot of people, especially the European audience, when I was streaming early in the morning, appreciated that, because like, oh my God, someone's on like during my daytime, and I don't have to watch you at like 1 in the morning or 3 in the morning, you know what I mean? Because they're on the other side of the world, So I think that's been cool. And the fact that, like, again, just seeing just all the people from everywhere coming out in support of this game has been really freaking cool, man. Just seeing people from Germany, Brazil, I don't know, just like I'm trying to think of all the countries, like Australia, like there's just like because I get Discord messages from people be like, hey, I'm from X country, and I'm like, holy shit, dude, that's like crazy to think that people watch me from like just other countries, and it's just kind of surreal.
I accidentally rated like an only Russian speaking streamer the other day.
Oh, really?
And I'm just like, because I always say, like, I make no guarantees as to who I'm rating. Like, we're gonna raid this person. Or the Ashes space? He was in the Ashes stream, and he's got Ashes on the screen, and he's talking about Ashes, and I just had no idea that he was only Russian. And so we got in there, and I was like, as soon as I sent it, I was like, and he's like, Lore for good. And I'm like, oh no.
I'm sure he appreciated it. That's awesome.
I know. Well, I sent him like 40 people, so it's like, good luck. Awesome. But yeah, the streaming thing is there was a period of time sort of behind the scenes too. I left my law firm after like 9.5 years, and it was before I worked for this other company, and I had like 3 or 4 months. And I said, you know what? I'm just going to stream. And so I did this streaming thing. This is back in like, I don't know, like maybe 2015 or something like that. And I was streaming Hearthstone.
Oh, wow.
And I was just learning about streaming and how this whole thing worked and everything like that. And so, after reading everything, I wanted to stream at times when people would be watching streams. but it was incredibly hard on the family. So I was streaming at like 7 o'clock or something like that. And the family was home and the kid was home and everything like that. And it just was, I'm trying to get viewers and everything, but the stress that it put on the family was just enormous. And Kel said, like, never again, like, we're never doing that again. Yeah. And only recently was I able to say, like, hey, I'm going to do the streaming thing, but here's what I'm going to stream. You're at work in the other room. She works from home. H is at school, right? I'm here. This is the time, and I don't miss anything with the family. I get out of her hair, which she loves, and it just works at that time, right? If I start doing it at nights, all the time. Granted, we do the show, but that's like once a week or something like that. It's not a big deal. If I was doing that all the time, it'd be the stress. So that time of streaming is like very, very important to get it to work within your personal universe, and you can't really. That's a tough thing to explain to other people. Like, well, why don't you stream here? Why don't you stream here? It's like, no, I got to make my life work. And this is the time that it works.
Absolutely. I mean, it is a thing. Like, even my wife, like, she's watching the kids right now, like, as we're talking, like, and I have my little 1-year-old and then I have our 8-year-old, but the 8-year-old, they play a lot too. So it doesn't just burden my wife the whole time, but it's still like, like when you're a family unit, you got to play off of each other. You know what I mean? And I'm very grateful that my wife allows me to stream as much as she does, allows me to play as much as she does, because before we even met, I told her, I was like, hey, I'm a gamer, like, and I'm really focused on this game, Ashes of Creation. And she's
full disclosure.
Yeah. She knew what she was getting herself into. So, I mean, like, now that we're here, she was like, hey, like, I've always known, this is what you wanted to do, and that's fine. So it's been really cool. Like, so she's super duper supportive, but,
awesome.
We're probably going to end it here. I got to go back to the family. But Sonny, dude, thank you so much for reaching out and just having a conversation with me, man. It's been ages, and please let Cash and Jib knows they're next.
Okay. They're on the hook. Okay. I am so happy to be on your show. I love having these conversations with you. It's always a good time. I always, learn stuff, and it's just an easy conversation, and it's great. So you feel free to reach out to me anytime you need somebody. Absolutely. If you're missing a spot or you need somebody to fill in, I'm happy to do it for you. We can talk forever, obviously. Good luck with your kid's first birthday, and enjoy those moments, man. I can't tell you enough. I'm sure you've heard it before, but like, life moves real fast. So take that time, shut your phone off, and just enjoy those moments.
Oh yeah. I mean, it's crazy, the fact that we're even talking about, it's like, I still see her as like an infant, and it's crazy to see her as a 1-year-old. But yeah, no, I'm going to take off. I mean, I'm still under the weather still. So I need, I'm going to be on antibiotics tomorrow. I have my teledoc appointment with my doctor. I'm going to get some antibiotics to get this freaking cough and pneumonia stuff under control. So yeah, I'm ready, man. I'm just ready to get back into the thick of it. I'm ready to do some more Ashes, man. But it's so good to hear that you've been having a great time in game. I'm sure just again, seeing the smiles on you, Jibs, and Cash's face when I watch the videos, it's clearly apparent. So guys, go to loreforge.com, buy some swag merch that they have. They have a ton of stuff for sale, and it's freaking awesome. I need to buy another Loreforge shirt, to be honest. The other one that I have is awesome. My wife likes that material too. She's like, can you get me one? I love this material, because this shirt's really hard. Like, I love this Saitama shirt, but the material is just super abrasive. The Loreforge shirt is like, it's so comfortable. Like, I don't feel like I'm wearing a shirt. Like, it's so good. So like, I love it.
What are you? You're a large? You're large? You look like a large.
No, bro,
you're medium.
I'm a medium.
You're a medium.
Medium. Yeah.
I mean, so funny you said that about like short guys. I'm like, dude, I'm not a short guy. It's just I'm surrounded by these giants,
Yeah.
Unreal.
It depends on because there's some shirts that I wear large, but usually it's a medium. Like the large, like once it's cotton, it'll shrink. And so like I'll have to get a large, because then it'll shrink to a medium. So that it just depends ultimately.
I grew up in the 90s. I'm still like, my wife is still trying to get me out of wearing everything 5 sizes too big. So
guys, thank y'all so much for tuning in and hanging out with us. Really appreciate that. I don't know if I'm going to stream again this week. I'll probably see you guys next week. But thank you guys so much for hanging out. We'll see you guys later. Thank you all so much. Sonny from Loreforge, Vladis Gaming, and we are out. Thank you guys. Have a great week.